All right, YouTube, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video. Click the bell, y'all. Matter of fact, click it twice so you can get all the information that we have here on Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. What an unfortunate loss for the Auburn Tigers basketball team. I mean, you talk about a team that really grinded it out, gritted it out, but at the same time, you have the forever self-inflicted wounds by the Auburn Tigers. They cannot find any shots mid-range. And it's really telling on them, actually, because when the pressure is on, okay, Auburn lives basically and dies by the high percentage shot. And you're trying to play against a team, very talented team in Kentucky. I was actually very impressed with how Auburn, really, really held their own against a very talented team at home, the number 8 team in the country, and a team that could make a really nice push for the Elite 8 because of their size, because of their guard play. I thought Auburn played pretty well. I think I was thinking about Isaac Okoro, for example. Dude is way bigger than I thought. This guy is a really bulky kid, and he's really quick. And, I really, really am impressed with what he brings to the table for the Auburn Tigers. Big shout out to the Auburn Tigers losing to Kentucky. But, hey, it's no shame, man. Only losing that game by 6 points. War Eagle. Now, we talk about the offensive line for the Auburn Tigers, and we're not going to get into too deep detail. I mean, it's a Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to hear nothing about no boring fat guys rumbling around, blocking and carrying on. But either way, we know that the offensive line was at times an Achilles heel for the Tigers. They didn't do horrible in pass blocking, but the running game, they could get no push against anybody up front. So they bring on Bicknell from Ole Miss, and Jack Bicknell, by the way, from Ole Miss. Now, here's the thing. He's been there for the last 3 years. Ole Miss's offense hasn't been their Achilles heel. They've been able to move the ball against some teams, and you talk about Ole Miss this past season. The quarterback, dual threat quarterback, Plumlee really had a really nice outing against Auburn. As a matter of fact, on the low, Ole Miss actually had a chance to steal that game from Auburn late. And folks want to know, what does Jack Bicknell bring to the table? The issue that these types of questions for me are, you just never know, because you get with a certain personnel set, and you really just have to play the game of wait and see. Do I think it's a potentially good hire? I think so. He has a wealth of experience, has some tenure in the NFL. As a matter of fact, won a Super Bowl with Pittsburgh Steelers, although getting fired. But we all have seen these tenures, these resumes of coaches who, might not have had success in one spot, but has a great deal of success in the other. Then you look at a situation where you have a coordinator who was an outstanding coordinator, say Chad Morris, for example, but then you get promoted to head coach and you absolutely flop. Because here's the thing that I like to tell folks all the time, especially that's why I can talk on this stuff, because I've experienced these things myself. What got you to one point, that skill set may not get you to the next. So what makes you, because look at Will Muschamp, for example. What makes a really, really good offensive coordinator might absolutely suck as a head coach. And what made you a good offensive line coach at Ole Miss may or may not make you a good offensive line coach at Auburn. I think Bicknell has an opportunity to be very successful at Auburn because, look, the skill position, I thought it was going to be good last year, and it wasn't terrible. I thought Anthony Schwartz's injury really hurt. The fact that, DJ Williams was hurt early on, still having to depend on Boobie Whitlow, whom I think, considering his background, I think Boobie Whitlow did stellar in SEC Power 5 football. Best wishes to him. But, you look at this thing for what it is. I think Jack Bicknell brings a different perspective to Auburn. brings a wealth of experience, both good and bad. Because, I mean, if I'm going to hire somebody, my thing is I want somebody who has been through adversity. I want someone who has, kind of seen both sides of the spectrum, especially from a National Football League perspective. I like coaches like that. That's why I like Nick Saban, because Nick Saban has a broad perspective from the coaching arena. He's coached college, he's coached NFL, he was a head football coach, absolute disaster with the Washington Redskins, but at the same time, you get that experience. You know what the NFL players look like, and you know the type of development that it takes for an individual to be successful at the NFL level. And that's why I like having coaches that have had that NFL experience. And I think Coach Gus Malzahn is doing an incredible job of upgrading his coaching staff and having a little bit more balance. I think this particular year for the Auburn Tigers, you definitely will have a lot more balance between the offensive side of the football field, coaching staff-wise, and the defensive side. Now, nobody at this point on Auburn staff can touch what Kevin Steele has brought to the table, but you're starting to see a little bit more balance. You're starting to see some guys that have some tenure and have some documented success on the coaching level, and I think Bicknell is no different in this particular situation. All right, guys. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're just talking a little bit about this coaching staff, Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.